after 2 days of like lockdown, people already are getting creative. And that is what's beautiful about our community, that even in the worst situations, people still think, okay, but what can I do? What can we do? And how can we get creative with what we have? Mm-hmm. And that's just something, creating something out of nothing. That's the real hip hop definition. And people are really, living that definition right now. And this is beautiful.
Thanks a lot for tuning in, everybody. My name is Paul. I'm the channel owner of ProDanceTV, and I've been active in the breaking community for 20 years. Because of all the recent happenings and the world is pretty much on a lockdown, I started this video series called Prodance Talks. And every talk will feature another guest ranging from dancer, DJ, MCs to promoters as well. This time, I'm glad to welcome Tyrone. Tyrone is one of the founders of the Notorious IBE Festival, Dutch BBoy Championships, World BBoy Classic, World BBoy Series, and much more. He's also a great DJ, MC, and visionair, and I'm proud to say that I co-hosted my first event with Tyrone in 2004, and I can honestly say that for me, he's been a key inspirator for my path in the breaking scene. And although we both come from Holland, and we talk on a regular basis, the news was just announced that the IBE Festival for this year has been cancelled, which is, of course, a massive setback for the community, but I guess also a totally understandable decision as well. I'm curious to find out why that decision has been made, what impact it has as well, and of course, I take this opportunity also to look back at some of the greatest IBE moments from the past. What made it notorious? Tyrone, welcome on the call. How's the situation currently for you in Holland?
Well, first of all, I'm honored to be on your session. I think it's a great idea, especially in these times of Corona crisis. Thank you for the nice introduction. And yeah, let's dive into it.
How's the situation currently in Holland for you?
Holland is in a semi-lockdown, so all schools and restaurants and shops are closed until April 28th. All events and sports and social life is suspended until June. And it means that a lot of people just choose to work from home, but we can still go outside. We could still do where we want to go and visit people. But most people are just, they're wise enough to keep the social distancing. In Holland, it's 1.5 meters. And we can even go, and also we can go outside with more than 3 people. But for me personally, the breaking community is an online part anyway. A big part of it is online. And for my other work that I do, I do everything online in Zoom or Skype or Teams or all these things features that they have right now. Mm. So it's okay. For me, it's okay.
We just heard the news that the IBE Festival, the 20th edition of the IBE Festival, was cancelled. And at what moment did you and the rest of the IBE team realize that even for a festival in August, it's kind of like too risky or not an option anymore to organize?
At first, we were very hopeful, also because our government, the Dutch government, set a decision date for April 6th, which was 2 days ago. So we were hoping that by April 6th, there would be no more ban and people could gather and come together and we would return to social life. But yeah, that was extended last week until April 28th. And then when they announced that events and sports events were suspended until June, we started to feel like, hey, maybe this is not going to happen. But mostly what got us really nervous was the fact that you see also from the news what's happening around us in other countries. And that was it's a very different situation for all the countries. Some countries are in really close lockdowns, like France, Spain, Italy. And then there's the new situation where US is currently going, not even reaching its peak yet. So it's very hard for, to manage, because maybe half the countries will be more open, other countries will not. So it's just a really large amount of like insecurity. And when we started to hear more what's happening in the countries around us, and starting to realize that this might take longer than June, then it was almost, it seemed the wisest thing, because what would IBE be without its international visitors? What would IBE be when it's just not like, it's just an indoor edition? I think people that visited the IBE just in recent years, they know it's so much bigger now. It's so much more outdoor. There is food, there is people, there is activity outside, outdoor. And it wouldn't be IBE without all those components. Mm-hmm. So this is why we, it seemed only logical to before we have to go disappoint, maybe sell a lot of tickets, or maybe don't even sell one ticket, but people will always be prepared to travel, and then we might have to disappoint them. So this is the best decision for us.
How far were you already planning the whole 20th edition of the IBE in terms of program or pre-production phase, etc.?
Well, there's two or three the great parts in the preparation. First of all, there's the production part, which is the venues, the locations. So we were pretty far ahead with that. We had a very good festival last year, so this year would look a lot like last year. So last year we had like 10 locations. So that would, we would put one of the tents up, the food court. We would go to the theater again, use more or less the same venues. And then there's the programming part, which is about 50 to 60 programs in 3 days. We organized it last year with 25 partners from the community, local partners, national partners, partners from outside the Netherlands. I was already in close contact with those partners. Most of the partners people already know. It's like Break Down the House, All for House, Zamunda. Last year there was Break Free. We were talking to Break Free again. We were talking to Red Bull. We were talking to Jay for his footwork thing. Talking to the Hip Hop House. So Undisputed, BBIC, these guys over here.
The Bandicoot or the Crash Fast, right?
Crash Bandicoot, Crash Fast from Taufik. So everybody was already working on it. And then there's the last part, which is the facilities part, which is the ticketing, the hotels. And we were just about to start selling tickets. Our early bird sale starting date was March 15, and on March 13 or March 14, the Netherlands went into the first wave of lockdown. So it was wise not to start selling tickets for something that you don't know what's up ahead. But basically, it takes the whole year round to start organizing the IBE.
But since you're pretty far ahead with like the pre-production part and the program partners as well, have there been any considerations to maybe change the direction of the IBE festival? Do it like a smaller program, or even move the date till later in the year? I don't know, have a winter edition or something, or?
Yes. So at first it was like, well, IBE, it's the people that come together, So at first you're more like, hey, we need to do this. I don't care if it's small or if it's miniature IBE, but IBE is IBE. But then you start to realize that it's you're going to take away the chance for so many people to enjoy it.
Mm.
And so we decided not to go for a smaller edition and to cancel the August date. And now we are thinking about working actually on an alternative, which would be 3 weekends in the after season. So around October, November is what we want to plan, where we want to plan 3 weekends that are based on the concepts of IBE. People know that IBE is about music, about dance, and about culture. So we want to see whether it's possible to do 3 smaller weekends, 1 weekend on music, 1 weekend where we honor the dance part with the battles and the jam sessions and the ciphers and the performances, and one which is actually a new component. It's a dance camp, a winter dance camp, where we can go dive into the aspects of the workshops and the master classes and everything that goes with the culture.
Nice, nice. So you have not been pausing any preparations. You've been just going on and trying to find solutions, you know? That's nice.
Yeah, it's not the festival. It's something that we would promote as IBE winter sessions. So it's different from what the festival is as a summer outdoor thing, but it's something that we want to do because also we realize that when we organize IBE, it's not us organizing the festival. It's so many people that are coming to the festival and helping us out, all those partners. And if we would do nothing, then we would also take away their motivation to create, to present themselves to the outer world, you know. So if we do something in the winter, then we still have an opportunity for Crash Fest or Break Down the House or workshops from Break Free to happen. And then they would be able to inviting their people and their artists and their communities. So it goes down from the government to us to our partners.
Yeah.
And so we don't want to break the chain.
Which is a good thing, because otherwise probably went from 100% organizing the IBE festival to 0% nothing at all anymore. So at least you kind of have some solutions, whatever the outcome will be at the end of the year, obviously. But I'm also guessing either way, it does have a huge impact on the IBE festival and obviously also on the team involved in organizing it year round, right? What can you say of that? How's the mood?
Well, the mood, it's from from one moment you're very sad that you can't do it because you're so used to thinking almost every day about organizing this festival. So that is really hard that you're in this, oh, I have to do this for IBE because IBE is coming up. But then when you think of it, there's already like the realization that, oh, there's no festival this year. So that's very hard. But now that we've set ourselves to this alternative, that makes it immediately a new goal, something new that you want to do. And I think we're definitely not alone in this thinking. It's really ingrained into the dance community. As you can see how much they are, after 2 days of like lockdown, people already are getting creative. And that is what's beautiful about our community, that even in the worst situations, people still think, okay, but what can I do? What can we do? And how can we get creative with what we have? Mm-hmm. And that's creating something out of nothing. That's the real hip hop definition. And people are really, living that definition right now. And this is beautiful.
Was that also the original aim? Because I can imagine 22 years ago when the IBE festival started, you probably had no idea that 22 years later you still would be organizing the IBE festival. How did the original approach happen from why IBE did originally start in '98?
We have the festival concept. So it's, we still don't see it a lot in our scene, but with the festival concept comes that there is multiple things happening at the same time. And this formula came because the club where we started the IBE was a venue, a location with multiple rooms.
Mm.
And the club already had a music festival in the same format. So you can see different bands in different locations. And I myself was also working at a very big jazz festival in the Netherlands with 16 stages and 25,000 people each day. So I was already like, hey, I want to do this for, you know, for the breaking community. And for the first IBE was already still with like a lot of different breaking programs, but also a DJ, a scratch battle, rap performances. And this is the concept that's been like that forever. And now only like recent years, you see more events, you know, transforming into the idea of, okay, there's the battle, there is the competition, but there's so much more around it. And even if you just have one space, you could still do an expo on the side. You could still maybe do in the morning or in the early midday, you do workshops. And from that, you just start to build. Because I think, actually what I have to say, I have to give props to the early B-boy festivals. And with early, it's early for me because I came into the scene in the late 90s. And at that time, a hip hop jam or a breaking jam was always a full, all elements convention. It's events like Rocksteady Anniversary, B-Boy Summit. There was a few in Europe, Fresh in the UK. You could go to the Rocksteady Anniversary, you could go to B-Boy Summit, you could go to Pro-Am, and then there would be everything, all elements of the culture. Mario B went to Rocksteady Anniversary. He went to the Pro-Am in Miami, and he visited them all. And then he came back and would, you know, explain to me what he saw, and it was so much about the culture. And that's when we, you know, it helped us in the idea of that's what we want to do. Now, and then there have been these two streams. The competitions have been, you know, became more and more important, especially in Europe and later also in Asia. And that led to UK Champs, Battle of the Year, BC1 becoming really platforms, next level events when it comes to competitions. But with us, it was also, you know, we were always trying to be the festival. So yes, we're a big event, but if you break it down, there's a lot of small events and different directions and different aspects of the culture. And that's what we still, you know, after 20 years, we still, actually it feels even more logical right now because festivals have become very important. Young people are visiting, especially in the Netherlands. I don't know how it is in different countries, but we have about 700 festivals. And we have very big, large-scale hip-hop festivals in the Netherlands. So festivals is something that people really like to attend, especially young people. And IBE fits in, you know. That's why we always say a festival like no other, or we use words like experience IBE. You just can't compare. You just have to go there, and then you understand the festival aspect.
I think that counts for so many people who've been there, or I think even at some point maybe it was on the bucket list of a breaker that out of the 10 things he wanted to do in his career, one of the things was to visit IBE. And of course, it's much more than only a breaking event. So thanks for that explanation. I think it's really clear for people to see it diverse into the music, dance, and the culture part. Although probably most of the people from around the globe who never attended the IBE festival would probably recognize it from the infamous like All Battles All happened, or even the like Seven to Smoke battles that happened, and so many great moments that really traveled the world from what people see. And for me, I'm really curious, because you might look at it from a different perspective, but what I'm curious about is what makes the IBE notorious for you. Like, can you name, for example, 3 specific moments from the IBE festival that, yeah, always are on top of your mind?
It's a difficult one because it's a very rich history, of course.
Yeah.
And for like you said, you know, when something amazing happens, and you know, in the first place, we love breaking, you know. So if everything has to go, and what has to remain is breaking. So when something amazing happens, like in an All Battles All, or there are crazy moments in the Crash Bandicoot, that's what people share the most, you know, and that's what they are motivated or inspired by the most. But to name, you know, let me just say, like, if I would just only, because I'm a fan of breaking myself, you know, used to break long time ago, but if I would just mention breaking moments, then I would feel, you know, I would, you know, sell the rest short, you know what I mean? So one of the, and highlight, of course, I can say the best festival, the best edition, for me, it was last year. It was 2019. Because after 20 years, which is a long time, you're really thinking like, what will I do the next 20 years, you know? Or you're even thinking like, hey, do I want to do this 20 years more? Last year was, for me, I really enjoyed the festival. Also because from the organization backside of it, it was really well organized. You know, that's my main inspiration right now, to do a better, organize a better edition for on the backside of it. So that's when I enjoy, because I don't even get to see a lot of the programming. So as a best festival, as a key moment, that was last year. Then of course I love the 2005 All Battles All. It is one of the best battles in history, I think, because it was such an moment that for the first time, Europe, you know, as a center, was featuring the USA and Asia in one place. And for that to happen in the Netherlands, because in 2005, when we were in the breaking country that we are today, you know, for that to happen in the Netherlands, in my own city, that was amazing, you know. And then thirdly, I have to say that I like everything that the girls from Zamunda do. Because what they do, you know, at the festival, and also Capella. So maybe I have to say what French people bring to the festival. I love what the French, you know, if it's about the battles, they bring the heat. But the recent years, they've been very creative and bringing the festival vibe to the IBE. You know, the French culture, especially African culture, Caribbean culture, is very close to what we have in the Netherlands. And you see that besides their talent to battle and to be really serious about the dance, they also bring the vibe. And they come to party, and they come to have a good time. And so these three components,
That's
last year's festival, IBE 2005, and France.
nice. We have three. So much more. I know that for sure. Going back to that first moment, because I think it's actually an interesting thing that you say. Having a festival and organizing an event every year and trying to also attract the same kind of audience who would be like a returning visitor, obviously, to get that same momentum, to get that same experience. I can imagine it's a huge challenge to organize it every year in such a way that people feel that it brings something new to the table, it's innovative. How do you work on that? Do you work with a large group of like a commissioning board or people, or where do you get your inspiration from to always look ahead for the IBE festival?
Well, throughout the years, when you start organizing and you start doing your event and you build the network, and I myself and also Mario B, who's been with me at our side since like 2000 and almost since the beginning. He's a very big important figure in the IBE, and in some aspects he's the you might think people sometimes think, oh, it's just Tyrone. No, it's really Mario, and then there's this other people, and there's a great woman called Yvonne with her husband, and there's so many people. So, but the base is a small group, and we have the capacity to really listen to what's around us, and whoever wants to work with us, that we will always try, for them to be a part of the festival. So throughout the years, we've been presenting so many concepts, so many ideas, trying to host it at the IBE, trying to give people the opportunity to do something. And the idea of doing something and being creative is one thing. Not everything worked, Not every cooperation with other people was a success. Because we also learned that when you do a festival, it's not just the concept of the battle, or because people, they contact us and say, hey, I got this crazy idea. Idea is one thing, execution is another thing. So production is very, very, very important. If you're able to have a good plan to present your ideas, and you really have an idea how you would want to, how you execute and make it a success, then it's a go from our side too. Then we are also really motivated to work with you and to host your ideas. And so this is very key in the success of IBE.
Nice. So to conclude, I mean, obviously, normally you would be busy with event organizing, traveling to multiple events around the globe. How do you make the best of your time right now? Because obviously, I can imagine there's a gap of, time available that you have, but also there's obviously a lot of projects that continue and that are still running and maybe for the future are looking ahead. How do you make the best of your time right now?
Well, right now it's, in a normal situation without the corona, we're all very busy, and you all have these ideas and new ideas. Now you finally get, you get the rest, so to say, not the rest to do nothing, but the rest and, to think about new things and really think about what's good and what's not good. What has to change? What do we have to change? And also, listening to what's around us and what, because sometimes it's, you just think about the concept of the festival too much, but now you can also think about something totally new. Mm-hmm. Like the 3 winter sessions. We would never, it's really weird that you would never think of an IBE winter camp. Everybody does camps in the summer, but now we want to do an IBE winter camp. You would never think of it when it's a normal situation, but now you're forced almost. And when you drop the idea, you know, others are enthusiastic, and this is amazing, man. Yesterday I got this message from Moy. He's coming up with an insane, dope plan to drop, you know, with an online battle, and it was a whole concept, you know. And people might think like, oh yeah, it's just another battle, but he was already thinking of this, and he was already thinking of doing this in a year or two. But now with the situation, he can do it now. And so this is, I think a lot of people are being really creative right now and thinking. So I only expect good things to come out after this. You know.
Do you think it will be like an everlasting change, that maybe this moment, for how many months it will take, you will never go back to the same situation? Like some things will change for forever, or it's really hard to tell?
I hope we could return to a normal life.
Yeah.
But I also hope that people have learned, you know, like the whole social distancing, the 1.5 meters, it's not so bad, really. You know, you don't want people coughing, you know, in your back at the supermarket. You know, not because it's Corona, but also when there's no Corona, you know. And I speak, especially out here in Western Europe, a lot of people are complaining about the things that they can't do right now. But man, okay, so what? You can't buy new clothes for 3 months. You know what I mean? There's people in the world that have very, very hard suffering than what we have to go through right now. So this is what we can learn from the situation.
Thanks, man.
And if we can get out of it, you know, that way with much more appreciation for life, then it's only a good thing. You know, it's sad that it takes losses. You know, it takes death and people getting sick, and that it has to take that. You know, that it has to take. It's needed that we go to a crisis before we can make things better. You know. But that's the way it is.
Thanks a lot, man, for taking us through also the unfortunate decisions for IBE. We're definitely looking forward to some form of the winter sessions. I'm already looking forward to that, whatever the outcome will be. But we know that IBE will be back, so that's a good thing for sure.
For sure.
Thanks,
I mean, we've been there 20 years. We will be there for 20 years more. Yes. So no worries. Bye.
Peace.